Hello and welcome to this new episode of Business Africa. I'm Dayoka, your host for this week's episode. Here are the headlines. Corruption is a global scourge. It was at the center of a Commonwealth conference in Ghana. We'll investigate strategies developed by anti-corruption agencies to address the issue. Zambia is Africa's second-largest copper producer. The energy crisis in the country is threatening the copper industry, exacerbating global concerns about supply stability. Later on the show, we'll head to Cameroon with a story on the economic and environmental pressures that rubber producers face. The plague of corruption in Africa means a capital hemorrhage which has devastating consequences on development. Gathered in Accra, Commonwealth anti-corruption agencies closely examined the issue.
The city of Accra, Ghana's capital, has hosted the annual conference of heads of anti-corruption agencies from African Commonwealth member states. The event of significant importance comes as the year 2023 saw a further stagnation in Africa's average regional score on the Corruption Perceptions Index. The Seychelles stands out in the region, followed by Cape Verde and Botswana, while Equatorial Guinea, South Sudan and Somalia continue to struggle with the lower scores with no sign of improvement. Against this backdrop, the conference brought together various stakeholders including international organizations, civil society and development partners with the aim of developing innovative anti-corruption strategies to combat poverty. The correlation between corruption and living conditions of millions of people is undeniable, with an estimated annual loss of $148 billion according to the African Development Bank, which represents around 25% of Africa's GDP. Although economists emphasize the commercial importance of the African market, the risks associated with corruption remain.
We're joined by Dr. Roger Opong-Koranting. He's the head of the public sector governance at the Commonwealth Secretariat. Welcome to Business Africa, sir. Why is this conference being held in Ghana? What are its objectives?
The main objective is to bring all the heads of anti-corruption agencies in Commonwealth Africa and also all the international agencies in the anti-corruption space around the world to come together to share ideas, knowledge, lessons, and compare notes as to what has worked, what has not worked, and the way forward. So that is the primary object of this conference.
You know it, corruption costs Africa millions of dollars each year. How does the conference plan to strengthen institutions and promote transparency?
The continent is bleeding or leaking out tens of millions of dollars every year, which is affecting development, affecting healthcare, infrastructure, schools, potable water. So we must do something about it. That's why we want the practitioners, those who are really fighting corruption, who have been successful in doing this. They should share that ideas. In Africa, you could see that some countries are doing far better in fighting corruption than others.
Which countries are you referring to?
The least corrupt country in Africa today is Seychelles, followed by Botswana, followed by Mauritius, Rwanda. If we want to know whether those countries that are doing so well, are they doing it because they have strong institutions, or do they have strong political will, or do they have strong laws or institutions? Whatever they have that is working for them, they should share.
What challenges do anti-corruption agencies face in their fight against this scourge?
They face, one of them is resource mobilization. They don't have enough resources in terms of financial and human capital. They need more investigators, they need more lawyers, they need more prosecutors. To fight corruption is not an easy task. 2, enforcement of the existing laws. The laws are there, but they are not well enforced. What is the point of having laws to fight corruption when you cannot enforce those laws? So that are the another. And the third one will be what I call weak laws. Some of the laws are so weak that it's archaic or ancient. It is behind modern way of fighting corruption. The criminals are ahead.
Does a country's corruption index deter investors?
Yes, a lot. See, investors will not come to your country if your country is known to be very, very corrupt, because that will mean that the cost of their investment will be too high. Everything they have to do in your investment, they will have to pay bribe to get everything. So it increased the cost of investment in doing business. And that's why investors will shy away from countries that are very corrupt.
20 years ago, 48 African countries, among which 18 Commonwealth nations, signed the African Union Convention on Preventing and Combating Corruption. Did the initiative produce the anticipated results?
Well, it has not fully been effective. All because, you see, the African Union comes out with this convention, countries sign up to it. But the problem that I see is the implementation of the country themselves. It's one thing signing up to this convention and another implementing it, domesticating it into your national laws, and then enforcing those laws, implementing those conventions. It's more or less like a paper tiger, but in reality, nothing is happening on the ground.
Dr. Corentin, thank you for answering our questions.
Thank you so much for having me, and I wish you all the best.
The energy crisis in Zambia is endangering the copper industry, prompting some companies to consider importing electricity to keep operating.
Zambia is facing a major threat to its copper industry due to an energy deficit. The southern African country generates 86% of its electricity from hydropower stations, but the country's main hydroelectric dams have run dry, and frequent load shedding is affecting the mining sector, which accounts for 12% of GDP. Prolonged drought, amplified by the El Nino weather effect, has worsened the energy crisis. To make up for this year's estimated 700 megawatt energy deficit, the state-owned electricity company ZESCO says it plans to import electricity, something that's of concern to mining companies including Canadian giant First Quantum. With production of 420,000 tons of copper scheduled for 2024, the company is looking to import 80 megawatts to maintain its operations. Zambia, Africa's second largest copper producer, already recorded a drop in production in 2023. Although copper exports to China remain strong, power outages continue to pose a serious threat to production. The Council of the National Chamber of Mines has called for mining infrastructure to be protected from damage due to load shedding. The call comes amid the global context where demand for copper remains strong for the energy and construction industries, but supply is limited due to a variety of factors. Experts have warned the situation is exacerbating concerns about supply stability and prices on the world market.
Rubber producers in Cameroon are forced to make tough decisions as global latex prices plummet and threaten the livelihoods of entire communities.
In a rubber forest, dozens of kilometers from the village of Mbalengi, just before the town of Kumba in southwest Cameroon, Celestin Bawe, a young grower, takes a look at the day's harvest. Following a dramatic fall in the price of latex, he's worried he'll be forced to uproot his plants in the next few days. Prices on the regional market have dropped from 2,000 to 260 CFA francs per kilogram. As a result, of the 15 growers in the village, only 2 remain.
The price per kilo is miserable. That's the first problem. We pay 3,000 to transport a sack of rubber from here to the village, only to sell it for 260 CFA. Sometimes they come by directly from the field.
After 12 years as a latex producer in an area of 25 hectares, he's struggling to pay for his children's schooling. Other growers have begun to cut down trees to grow more lucrative crops, such as cocoa and yams.
The amount of money that comes from the farm is not encouraging. So we think that if we cut down the trees, we can go for alternative crops. But I'm left with no option, because even the employees themselves are not willing to work because of the low prices, and we cannot pay them above what we are getting from CDC. So definitely it will affect them.
In the dock are public companies CDC and Hevercam. The Growers Guild accuses them of buying their products at terrible prices while selling it on a premium to Europe, Asia and the United States. The EU and the government are urging latex producers to suspend logging to counter climate change. But some feel this overlooks their financial difficulties. Despite this, Cameroon remains a major latex producer, exporting more than $66 million worth in 2022.
That wraps this episode of Business Africa. You can watch it again on Africanews.com and on all our platforms. I'll see you soon.